that was kind of the middle school. I was getting all these money orders and things in the mail, and my parents were like, I hope you're not selling drugs or something. I don't know what you're doing on that computer, but eventually it was like a snowball thing, and they kind of just had to accept it.
I want to circle back to your story a little
Sure.
bit. So you graduate high school, you move into an apartment, you can actually get cable.
Uh-huh.
You've got, at the time, you're a hosting service, correct?
So yeah, because basically, the computer repair turned into web design. This was kind of the peak of the dot-com boom towards the end. So websites were still at a point where you could charge a lot of money for a single page that, especially if it had moving text or something, people would pay a ton of money. And then from there, I realized though that, I could charge a couple $1,000s for that easily. And so that was kind of the middle school. I was getting all these money orders and things in the mail, and my parents were like, I hope you're not selling drugs or something. I don't know what you're doing on that computer, but eventually it was like a snowball thing, and they kind of just had to accept it
Right.
because it's already going. And then, but I realized that, charging for a website, doing a website, that's fine. But I realized that, everybody needs web hosting, which, for anyone who doesn't know, web hosting is basically like the server space that the website is on, and the server on the other end of the that's connected to the internet that you connect to when you access a website. And so I realized that everyone has to have hosting and that has a website. And hosting is something that is a subscription service where you have to pay for it every month.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the next evolution where I really thought, it's great to be able to do these sites and everything, but I really like the idea of being able to provide a service where once it's set up for the client, they're just going to continue to pay monthly for it, and I don't have to continuously do any more work for it, unless obviously like customer service and things. So I started out by just on an industry message board, because we didn't really, message boards were more popular than social media type stuff back then. There were some industry message boards that were super active, and I got a reseller account for a web hosting company where I was basically kind of like allocated a chunk of space on their server, and I would set up my clients within that, and then eventually had enough where I leased my own server in a data center, and kind of just went from there with it. But I wanted to move out of West Virginia. West Virginia is, great place, great people, but I wanted to experience more and something new. So I
Mhm.
had the opportunity just through being known in the industry and the message boards to go to work for a little bit more established hosting company that was larger. So I kind of folded my hosting clients into it, and went and I was became the VP of business development initially, and then transitioned into VP of operations at a web hosting company in upstate New York. And so that was really the first experience that I technically I was working for the company. I didn't own the company, and I didn't like that a lot. That was kind of a change, and the owner of the company and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And so, I knew after, I was there. I mean, I did get to move to upstate New York, so that was moving to New York from West Virginia was a nice change. It went really well. But after a while, I knew that I love the web hosting industry. I was getting uh, more well known in the industry, and I started getting offers from other web hosting companies trying to poach me basically. And I ended up meeting on a message board Brent, the founder of Hostgator, and he's 3 years older than me, so we're pretty similar in age. but he had started Hostgator from his dorm, and it had started just exploding, and in a good way. And he said, "Hey, do you want to move down to Florida and help me with Hostgator?" And I flew down. We went to dinner one night. This was the first time we met in person. Went to dinner uh, with him, and then also his right hand man at the time, Lance, who's still a good friend of mine today. And we went to dinner, and then that night we ended up talking for like 8 hours straight, just into the morning at his house, like out. We were out in the patio just talking, and it's like, oh wow, it's like 5 a.m. Like, we probably should go. We just hit it off. We had a lot of similar values. We looked at things in the same way. And so I moved down there, became part of HostGator. I was pretty much like the original operations person. We didn't really do a lot of titles. It was kind of a pick your own thing, but so I guess I was really the first COO, senior VP kind of role, and because I focused on the operational side of more the back end. So like, setting up the accounting, hired the first bookkeeper, first CFO, first HR team.
Wow.
Basically, the company was starting to grow, but it needed some of these pieces. And so, again, his right hand, Lance and I were basically his first, at that stage, we were his right hands and doing everything. We moved to Houston very quickly because we realized it was hard to hire in South Florida, and the cost of living was still really high. And so we did that, and he actually wanted me to start another company to help him diversify, because he was reinvesting everything back into HostGator, doing amazingly well. He said, "Can you start another company? I'll give you all the money you need for it, and I want a minority stake in it. Go build something, and you can still be involved with HostGator, selectively as much as you want, like strategic stuff, but go build something." And that's where VoIPO came from. And so, he
Awesome.
invested the first $1 million in VoIPO, because building a phone network is not cheap. And one of the main reasons that we went for VoIP was that not everybody needs web hosting, but everybody needed phone service.